For the last 5 years, I've been in what I thought was a near-perfect relationship. I'm a 26-year-old guy, and my girlfriend, 24, has been my rock, or so I believed. Looking back, I can confidently say I gave this relationship my all. I mean, who wouldn't want to be the best partner they could be? I thought I was nailing it. And honestly, she seemed great too, until recently. We rarely fought. Hardly any drama. We were that couple that friends envied, or so they said. But then came this. Her name is Sty, at least for the sake of this story. And then there's Lucy, her friend from college. They met ages ago, not as roommates or classmates, but while watching some sports game. Volleyball? Basketball? I can't remember. What matters is, they clicked instantly and stayed friends, even after college. Once or twice a year, they'd catch up, and that was fine with me. I mean, it was just two friends hanging out, right? Why would I care? So, when Sty told me Lucy was coming to town and suggested spending the night at her hotel, I didn't bat an eye. Sure, I wondered why Lucy wouldn't just crash at our place. We do have a spare room, but Sty brushed it off, saying Lucy would feel more comfortable in her own space. Fair enough, I thought. No big deal. The night Lucy arrived, I was actually excited about the alone time. House to myself. Freedom to do whatever. I indulged, ate junk food, binge-watched shows, and lived like a king for a day. When Sty returned the next morning, she seemed cheerful, which was normal after a night out with a good friend. But then she asked me something that caught me off guard. Is everything all right? Now, Sty's not the type to throw that question around unless something feels off. And here's the thing, I was fine. I'd had a blast on my own, so her question felt strange. It didn't make sense to me. I let it go, though. No need to overthink it. Fast forward a couple of weeks. I'm hanging out with a buddy, and he launches into this theory, some wild claim that all straight women are secretly bisexual to some extent. He starts talking about how women are more comfortable with each other, even playful in ways that men aren't. Honestly, it sounded like complete nonsense, but he was insistent. I laughed it off, but his words stuck with me. Could there be something between Sty and Lucy? Would they stop themselves if things ever got heated? Would Sty even consider it cheating if it was with a woman? The questions began to gnaw at me. Back home that evening, my curiosity got the better of me. The next day, I decided to test the waters. I asked Sty about college, specifically if she ever experimented. She laughed it off, shaking her head like I just told the funniest joke. But something about her reaction didn't sit right with me. It felt too much. The more she denied it, the less I believed her. I pressed a little, but the conversation started veering into dangerous territory. I could feel tension building, so I backed off. But inside, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her relationship with Lucy than she was letting on. Had they crossed a line? Was it something from the past, or was it still happening? If she had been honest from the start, I think I could have handled it better. But not knowing? That's what got to me. I mean, let's be real, someone you've been intimate with in the past will always have a better chance of sparking something again. The doubt festered. I wanted answers but didn't want to destroy trust by snooping through her phone. At the same time, I felt like I needed to know the truth. In the days that followed, I tried to reason with myself. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe my friend's wild theory had just messed with my head. But the nagging questions wouldn't stop. Edit 1. Some people say I'd be shocked by how many women are open to testing the waters. Maybe my friend was onto something. But it's hard to see Sty in that way. She's never given me any indication she's experimented. Am I making excuses for her? Maybe. Edit 2. It seems clear she won't admit anything, even if I ask directly. So, I've decided the only way to get answers is to find them myself. I'll wait for the right moment. Edit 3. Just to be clear, I'm not demonizing anyone here. If Sty experimented in college, it doesn't change who she is to me. But this secrecy? That's what I can't handle. Imagine thinking your relationship is secure, only to discover cracks forming in places you never thought to look. Worse still, imagine realizing those cracks might lead somewhere you didn't even think possible. I mean, sure, there's a playful intrigue around the concept of girl-on-girl action. Society loves to romanticize it, but let's be real, cheating is cheating. It doesn't soften the blow just because the other person happens to be a woman. And yet, how could I not wonder? Especially after her exaggerated reaction to a simple question about her past. It's not every day your partner has sleepovers with someone they share history with while you're left at home, scrolling through Netflix like a third wheel. Maybe Lucy's just the friend Sty vents to when I forget to put the toilet seat down for the 100th time. Or maybe they're plotting something bigger, like world domination via a secret volleyball league. Who knows? Then there's my buddy's wild theory, all straight women are just closeted bisexuals. Sounds ridiculous, right? As baseless as saying all men secretly dream about the Roman Empire. But was there a kernel of truth buried in his words? I tried to push the doubts away, but curiosity is a relentless beast. Should I ask her directly? Would honesty be the antidote to these festering suspicions? Or would it backfire, leaving a gaping hole in our already fragile trust? But as they say, curiosity killed the cat. And in my case, it might just torch my relationship. Weeks passed. Lucy hadn't been around, and things between Sty and me seemed normal. Almost too normal. My suspicions still lingered like a shadow, creeping in during quiet moments. I told myself I'd let it go, but the itch for answers became unbearable. Then, finally, opportunity struck. One day, Sty rushed out for a spa appointment, running late as usual. We used the same model phone, and as a light bulb went off in my mind, I casually placed mine on the table next to her handbag. Hers is navy blue, mine is black. But in her rush, she didn't notice. She grabbed my phone and bolted out the door. Moments later, her car roared to life, fading into the distance. About 20 minutes later, my phone rang. It was her, calling for my number. I grabbed your phone by accident, she said, her tone a mix of amusement and apology. Don't be mad, okay? Do you need me to bring it back? I assured her it wasn't a problem. My phone was clean. The most incriminating thing she'd find would be some dumb banter from my group chat with the boys. Meanwhile, her phone sat in front of me like Pandora's box, waiting to be opened. When I was sure she wouldn't come back for it, I dove in. First stop, her gallery. I scrolled back to the date she'd stayed at the hotel with Lucy. Nothing suspicious, just videos of them drinking at the bar and goofing around. Even the trash folder came up empty. Next, I opened her messages. Lucy's chat stared back at me. At first, the recent texts seemed innocent enough. But as I scrolled further, I hit pay dirt. The conversation shifted, and the truth unraveled in gut-wrenching detail. Lucy, Sty, we need to talk. Sty, about what? Lucy, you know what? Let's skip the jokes for now. Sty, sorry. It was certainly exciting. Lucy, yeah, it was. I'm sorry if I crossed a line, but when you didn't stop me, I couldn't. I've never been with a girl before, you know that. Sty, I wanted to stop you, but it felt so good from the start. I couldn't. And honestly, I'm glad I didn't. Lucy, I'm glad you didn't, too. Sty, I don't think this can be a thing, though. I have a boyfriend. Lucy, he doesn't need to know. The words hit like a punch to the gut. He doesn't need to know? My mind raced. I wanted to throw the phone, punch a wall, do something to release the anger clawing at my chest. But what would that solve? Nothing, except maybe giving me a broken hand. A few days later, I had my chance. Sty mentioned she'd visit her mom for a few days. Perfect. As soon as she left, I started packing my things. Every last one. It wasn't quick, I'd been living there for 3 years. But by midnight, I had everything boxed up and ready to go. The next morning, a friend with a pickup truck helped me move out. Trip after trip, we loaded my life into his car. I left my key with a neighbor I trusted and walked away without looking back. The best part? I kept texting Sty like nothing had happened. When her return day arrived, I went completely silent. No texts. No calls. Nothing. Her panic came through in waves of missed calls and desperate messages. But I didn't answer. Eventually, I heard from a mutual friend she'd gone to his place looking for me. He played dumb, which worked perfectly. Do I feel bad? Maybe a little. But she cheated on me. With Lucy. If she's going to cheat in her next relationship, man or woman, I hope she remembers this. Because this time, I made sure she'd feel the sting of betrayal just as deeply as I did. No. I needed a plan. Something calculated. Cool. Revenge, after all, is best served cold. When it all started, I gave my friend a brief summary of the situation. He didn't pry for more details, but he fully supported me. 2 days later, she went to his place, still believing he knew nothing. True to my word, he played along, keeping her in the dark. But her calls and messages didn't stop. Then, things escalated. Her parents and sister began reaching out too, their persistence relentless. By the time I reached my breaking point, I had over 200 missed calls. 2 weeks of silence, and now I couldn't get a moment of peace. It was time to confront her. I drove to her apartment, each mile sharpening my resolve. When I knocked, I could hear her rush to the door. As soon as she peeked through the peephole and recognized me, the door flew open. She threw herself into my arms, but I immediately pushed her back. Inside, the place was a wreck. Even with my things gone, it felt claustrophobic. Empty bottles cluttered the surfaces, and the air was thick with a stale scent of regret. Her disheveled hair and tear-streaked face painted the picture of someone spiraling. "What did I do?" she whispered, her voice trembling. I couldn't help but laugh. Not out of amusement, but because the question was so ridiculous. She knew. She had to know. Weeks of silence gave her time to reflect, to piece together every moment of betrayal. I stared her down. "You know what you did." Her lips quivered, and then it hit her. "Lucy," she murmured, the word barely audible. Another laugh escaped me, colder this time. That single name was confirmation enough. She crumbled to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Her cries filled the room as she choked out fragmented apologies. "I can't live without you. I'm dying here. You're hurting me so much." The words came between gasps and hiccups, desperation oozing from every syllable. I had so much to say. A flood of emotions and accusations clawed at my throat, demanding release. But looking at her, this pitiful, broken version of herself, I felt nothing but disgust. I turned without a word and walked out. Her cries followed me into the hallway, her voice calling my name like a haunting refrain. I didn't stop. I didn't look back. She knew exactly what she'd done. Back at my friend's place, I grabbed the photos I'd taken of her messages with Lucy. Her family had been so eager to involve themselves, now they'd get the full picture. With a few taps, I sent everything to her parents and sister. I didn't expect replies, but I knew they read them. For good measure, I sent the screenshots to Lucy too. Her response was swift, a flood of apologies, each one more desperate than the last. But what could I do? There was no retribution fitting enough. She had known about me all along, and yet she made her choices. Maybe now, carrying the weight of her guilt, she'd truly understand the destruction she caused. It's been a week since that confrontation, and her messages haven't stopped. Every day, another text, another plea for closure. She accuses me of driving her mad, of causing her unbearable pain. A part of me almost feels cruel, exploiting her anxiety like this. But why should I hold back? She didn't spare me when she chose to betray me. I've embraced this path. It's not one of vengeance, it's one of accountability. I'll never respond to her again. She'll have to live with the silence, just as I did. As for me, I'm focusing on rebuilding. There's a future out there with someone who won't make me second-guess their loyalty. For now, I'll leave her with the consequences of her actions. She played the game, and she lost. Actions have consequences. Sometimes, they're just a little colder than expected. What do you think? Was it too much, or exactly what she deserved? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories like this. Until next time.